Good evening and welcome. It's another Friday and it's episode number 6 of your popular Bonje TV show. Wow, time really does fly. Episode number 26. Hats off to all those who have been with us from episode number 1 right through episode number 26. Good. Now let's take our Bonje news. The Grenada Tourism Authority, together with the Spice Mass Corporation, has partnered to launch Spice Mass in Trinidad and Tobago at the Radisson's Hotel, right, in Port of Spain. Now, that took place today. I think it was supposed to be from 3 to 5. Now, the delegates who visited Trinidad, Senator Brenda Hood, and she is a minister responsible for culture. She was accompanied by Mr. Rudy Grant, who is the CEO of Grenada Tourism Authority, Mr. Amanda Smith, who is the general manager of the Spice Mass Corporation, Jaylon Boise Olive, he's the current Soca Monarch King, and the traditional mass band players who were there were depicting elements of Grenadian mass. So that was in Trinidad. The South St. George Development Committee will be having a gala and queen show on tonight, Friday night. Actually started at the Trade Center at 7 p.m. and there was a gala. 9 p.m. the queen show starts, and the queen show goes, I say, until the queen is crowned. It's $70 for both gala and queen show, and $35 at the gate for persons who couldn't make it to the gala, but they're still in time for the queen show. So go on out and support the mothers of the South St. George Development Committee. Speaking of mothers, we'd like to wish all mothers of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique a happy Mother's Day. Sunday 11th is Mother's Day, and we really implore you to make it special for moms. I'm speaking now to the fathers and the husbands and the sons and the children generally. Make it special for your mom on Mother's Day. Grenadian swimmers excelled at the Carifta Swimming Championships in Aruba. Oriolua Cherubin set a new national record, right, in the 50 meters breaststroke with a new time of 35.00, and she placed second. Now, Kerry Oliver placed second as well in the 50 meters with a personal best of 25.15. Congratulations, guys. Keep it up. Keep it up. Fish Friday. Well, this is Friday, so Fish Friday is happening now. Head up to Guave after the show, yeah, and enjoy the sumptuous fishy meals that are prepared. The Grenada Cultural Foundation webpage and Facebook account is up and running, so interested persons can visit the website at culture.gd and the Facebook page at Grenada Culture Foundation. The foundation also has a new feature that highlights for runners of Grenada's culture, and you have an opportunity to nominate persons of your choice. You can send your submissions to gcfmanager@spiceisle.com, or alternatively you could send it to culture.gd or at the foundation's Facebook page. Good. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Bonje, it's a cultural theme. Experience the goodness of the spice. Friday nights from 8 to 9. Culture at its best. A way of life, of customs and traditions. Bonje, hear the stories. Listen to the music. Witness the action and the old talk. A real Grenadian cultural experience. Bonje, a product of the Grenada Cultural Foundation.
Diversity.
The 21st century imperative.
Diverse in education.
Diverse in health.
Accepting everyone.
For who they are, the way they are.
A message from the Wesley College Young Leaders.
Welcome back. We're live in studio with our first guest. And the gentleman is somebody who you really, the whole of Grenada must know by now. I mean, there's the school, he interacts with the schools, he interacts with the Department of Culture where he works, he's by extension he's into PAN, and I mean he's carried many awards from national championships, and speaking of none other than David Peck Edwards. Peck, welcome to Bonje.
It's a pleasure, Robert.
Yes, you took a while to come, but you made it, man. You made it, you made it.
Yes.
Peck, Steel Band. The name David Peckhead was synonymous with Pan. I mean, you think of Peck and you think of Pan. You think of Peck and you think of Dimensions, right? How long you started this?
Well, Robert, I think God gives everybody a gift in their own special way, you know, and as far as I could recall, since I was a little boy, you know,
Good.
5 years, 6 years.
So they used to put you on a little box to play to as well. And
No.
most of the young fellas who started playing, you see them on a little crate or something, so because they couldn't make the height to
Robert,
actually play the pan.
Those little boys that you see on boxes and so on, they are very fortunate. In my time, it could be termed a crime to be involved in playing steel band as a little boy.
Okay. Oh,
The
so you came
stigma.
from that era.
Yeah, the stigma of pan people back then.
Yeah.
You know, but since I was small, you know, I guess because the older guys in the community, Preston Horace, we call him Ras Dakari.
Dakari used to play pan too?
Yeah, Francis Bonnard and Coley George and those guys used to play Justin, right? And then I knew Abba Gibbs and Black Jet and these guys playing the conventional pan.
Yes.
You know, so I was fortunate to grow up in a community where pan was always alive.
So you play juice pan too?
You know, well, that is where I started. I started on those SO oil jobs. In the earlier days, oil used to come in those small tins.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You know, and I lived just above the fish market. And the Melville Street Service Center, those days was SO.
Oh, no, I remember those tins in truth, man.
Right.
Yeah,
Those
tins about the height.
Right.
Yeah,
you know?
I remember
so,
that now.
seeing Ras Dakari and them playing the juice tin, as a younger boy, I got the idea and I started with the
juice tins too?
with the yes, I gravitated from juice pan, from the oil tin to the bigger juice pan, and then to the conventional pan and thing.
So Peck, you can say you really started from scratch.
From scratch, yeah, definitely. Definitely, yes. You know, and I made my own pans at that young age, and I tuned my own pans for myself.
I like the idea of this juice tin thing. I mean, and the SO pan, the SO tin, you know, was that out of necessity or lack of finance to actually, or just not the opportunity to graduate to the bigger pan in those days? So you at least started, you had some talent and you wanted to channel it somewhere, so you started with what you had.
Well, the SO oil tin was the tin that was most readily available.
Yeah. Because
as I said, in those days, people would purchase the oil and put it in the vehicle and just throw the tin. So the tin used to be by the seawall, among the stones and so on. And we just go. Yes, we just go and we take a box, a cardboard box, and we gather the tins. And I go up in the back of my house and I knock the tins, you know, and every tin was a note. So I will find dough, and then I'll find Ray, I'll find me. So I have 14 tins spread out. So when I play, I use it.
That must have been more difficult. That must have been more difficult than having notes in the cylindrical.
Of course, it was more difficult. But for me, you know, it was just the form I choose to have it.
Yeah.
And I guess I learned that from the senior guys, because I used to see them having maybe 20, 30 tins, maybe rows of 10s, you know. Yeah. And they have 3 stack up and so on, you know, and I just learned that.
Folks, all of here, where the steel man thing come from, eh? Right? I mean, it is as far back as about Peck. That's interesting. That's a really interesting information. And yet still you persevered, you graduated to eventually to the bigger things, the conventional type things. Right?
But Robert, it was not an easy road, you know. I might make it sound simple. I can tell you that every day my grandparents came from work, I would get a whipping.
For playing steel band?
Yeah, because steel band was badge and thing. It was not something that children were encouraged, especially ladies. Ladies were not supposed to talk to even talk to the pan people.
No. That calls for bonje. I mean, it was not even supposed to talk. No association.
No.
Because they were like, what, this common society?
Yes, in those days, steel band were panis was Bajan, you know, Japos from school and so on, you know. So they were seen as the scum of society.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, Robert, some people still up to this day still see the steel band as back then. You know, that's why they show us little or no respect, you know, little appreciation and so on. But as you can recognize, from then to now, we have come a very, very long way.
Let me ask this question. Granny still alive?
No, she's not alive. But I can tell you something. In the earlier days, she was seeking my good because, as I said, the stigma and the whole environment of Pan, it was not a nice one. You know, when steel bands met on the road, they call it steel band clash. It's fight. Cutlass. And so
you think it is? Bon J fighting steel band. Pan going so, man going so, and
yeah, that was, you know, that was the history of Pan.
Oh yeah, so obviously you don't want you want better for your
if you check the earlier names of the steel bands, are not only in Grenada. Let's take in Trinidad.
Renegades.
Desperados. You understand? Casablanca. that telling you the kind of, you know, they take the name for movies, but these movies were war movies and Bajan movies and so on. You know, in Grenada, Hell's Cat. You know, that was the name. Okay. So yes. So all that tells you, the name tells a story too. You understand? And it's a serious story. And as I said to you, in those days, my grandmother, especially, she whipped me every day because she thought it was a bad thing and I shouldn't be involved. But I can tell you, fortunately, you know, she lived to see the transformation of Pan. And she lived to see me persevere and became a national name where Pan is concerned. And she said to me, you know, in the earlier times, I didn't understand what you saw because of how Pan used to be. But I'm proud to see what you have done and where Pan has come, you know. So I apart from all the licks, I still praise her for the licks. Because you know, she yeah.
I can imagine I said, Bonje, hear me grandchild.
yeah, she was really proud, you know.
So that was the origin, that was the genesis of the thing. Obviously, as you indicated, Pan has come lips and bongs, right? There may still be some stigma associated. There may still be the lack of respect and so, but we play steel band in church. You know, we play it in hotels for our guests, and so there's a national competition, right, where people are awarded. And I, however, believe that we still need to do more. And I tell you what, yes, there is a competition, and yes, there is, you know, some bands have progressed more than others. I mean, some bands have contracts. I mean, they have players who actually could get some form of sustenance from playing the Pan. Right? But I think we need to expose it more to our schools, right? And we need to have more activities, not necessarily competition. Competition is one part of it. But activities that sort of throw the steel band right in your face. So community activities. A Sunday evening you could go and enjoy the Pan. A certain area, like there used to be on the fort. There's a band house kind of thing. But maybe similar kind of things where you know there's a Pan line kind of thing.
I can tell you, Robert, and I'm not knocking any government, but in my teenage years, growing up in the Pan movement, almost every Sunday we used to have a Pan concert somewhere, you know, and that was in the era of the late Sir Eric Matthew Gary. You know, we used to have many concerts in the Botanical Gardens, and in those days there was a Public Works department, and that department, like the Ministry of Works, had their own trucks and so forth.
Yeah, I remember them yellow trucks.
There was yellow trucks.
Bon J, you remember them yellow trucks, but them Public Works trucks.
And
PWD.
Right. You know, and several trucks will be sent to the various Pan houses, Belmont, Happy Hill, you know, River Road, Tongue, and so on, and we will go almost every Sunday in a different village in Grenada and play steel band. You know, so while we have made progress in some ways, we have regressed in others. You know, I mean, I'm not knocking anyone, but I must say that under the late Sir Eric Matthew Gary, steel band was given lots of prominence. You know, I mean, that was the time when, for example, Mr. Wilfred Harris, right, he was sent to Trinidad, for example, to develop on his art of pan tuning. You know, we have not, since then, we have not sent anyone. You know, outside of the Grenada Steel Band Association that have made an effort once to send 3 persons to Trinidad for a short stint, you know, but to send someone on a scholarship to improve on the art of, you know, making the steel pan, to send young musicians to train at UE or Harvard or so, you know, we are You know, a lot can be done. As you said, we have PAN in schools through the Ministry of Culture, but it is not to the extent that it should be. And I mean, we have limitations, financial and otherwise.
I was about to get to that.
Right, but as a country, I think that for the standard that Grenada has in the world, because after Trinidad, in all our competitions and so, Caribbean Panorama World Festival, after Trinidad, Grenada places second, right? So for the standard of our PAN, you know, we need to do much more. You know, that PAN should be entrenched within the school curricula. When I say entrenched, I mean it should be something that if a principal wants to do it, it should be on the school curricula, not just steel PAN, but music in general.
Yes.
But Robert, that calls for lots of resources. That calls for music teachers. You know, that calls for instruments and so on. And while in the earlier days the steel PAN was considered a poor man instrument, it was cheap. You could have gotten an oil drum for $5. You know, as a matter of fact, in the earlier days, PAN men used to thief the dustbin, because the dustbin, right, used to be oil drums.
Yes, I remember those days.
Right.
Yeah.
And the PAN men used to thief those.
They just used to disappear.
Yeah, they just disappear.
Yeah,
they would steal them.
They go from a productive use.
Right, you know. But you, as I said, you could have bought an oil drum for $5, $10.
What? Speaking about cost, because we run out of time and we need to wrap up. And this is so interesting. It's just as though we ain't started talking and the time gone.
No, it's true.
What about cost though? How much you spoke about getting a PAN for $5 and organizing yourself, but how much does it cost to get a professional PAN now? Nice your crew and all that kind of things.
I always tell people steel PAN instruments are like vehicles. You know, so you have your cheaper vehicles, all right, I won't want to call any brand name.
Okay, no,
you know,
please don't. Yeah.
And then you have your top of the line vehicles.
Yeah.
And you know, vehicles could go to as much as 300,000, 400,000, some you can get it for 18,000 and so on.
Yeah.
But the top of the line steel PAN, right? Like a single tenor, a very good single tenor will cost you anywhere between 1,000 to as much as 1,500 US dollars, not EC dollars.
Wow. Peck, on that note, don't say another word again.
Bon Dieu.
Bon Dieu, don't say another word. What has clearly come out here is that to put a steel band, a band of instruments together, is certainly a costly venture.
Yes.
You gotta keep trying though. Peck, thanks for your efforts. Nonetheless, and we want to invite you back to the program some other time. We need to speak about your involvement on a different side now, the dimension and all that.
Yes,
right?
yes.
My favorite band is
I can't see it on the television. Okay.
We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Don't move a muscle.
Bon J, it's a cultural theme. Experience the goodness of the spice. Friday nights from 8 to 9. Culture at its best. A way of life, of customs and traditions. Bon J, hear the stories. Listen to the music. Witness the action and the old talk. A real Grenadian cultural experience. Bon J, a product of the Grenada Cultural Foundation.
Welcome back to Bon J. Yeah, man, before the break, we had a very interesting discussion with David Peck Edwards. And the interest continues, not just in steel band now, but in terms of the interesting features. We are about to head into our Bon J moment. Of course, every episode, we have this, something not always hilarious. It's just something that causes you to think, but it's you know, it's supposed to make you go, and sometimes you could get like a laugh from it. But today's Bon J moment, it promises to be extremely hilarious. I won't say anything again. You just continue looking. Our Bon J moment today.
Bon J.
Sweet journey, the days may come, my days may go. But still the head of memory weaves the blissful dreams of love ago. Yeah, Jenny, my early love.
terrified. My heart shall never roll. Thou art my only guiding star. For me the past has no regret. Whatever years may bring to me, I bless the hour when for sweet. The heart that it love and Johnny come down, no, a poor old man. Oh, wake up, oh, shake up, oh, wake up, Johnny come down to high love, poor old man. You think this is your protection when you dancing? To high love, oh, poor old man.
Bonje.
Woo! We did promise that today's Bonje is going to be extremely hilarious. We take a break right now, but when we come back, more live interviews. Don't go away.
Bonje, it's a cultural theme. Experience the goodness of the spice. Friday nights from 8 to 9. Culture at its best. A way of life, of customs and traditions. Bonje, hear the stories. Listen to the music. Witness the action and the old talk. A real Grenadian cultural experience. Bonje, a product of the Grenada Cultural Foundation.
Diversity.
The 21st century imperative.
Diverse in education.
Diverse in health. Accepting everyone.
For who they are, the way they are.
A message from the Wesley College Young Leaders.
Welcome back to Bonje. You still laughing? You can stop now, you know. Oh, Genevieve. Listen, I'd love to meet that gentleman. And I mean, I just love this song. I'd love to meet him and I'd love to hear 2 or 3 other songs because I think he seems to have some talent inside his belly there. Yeah, some more of that. Anyway, we're about to to say good evening to our second guest on today's program. The gentleman who is a CDO, and that will be Community Development Officer attached to MAREP, that outfit out in St. Patrick. And it's my extreme pleasure to welcome Mr. Rashid Sylvester to Bonje. Rashid?
Blessings, man.
How are you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Good. MAREP, Rashid. Give us the name for the acronym, the full name.
MAREP means Market Access and Rural Enterprise Program.
Good. Market Access and Rural Enterprise Program.
Yes, sir.
Good. I like the rural in it, right? It obviously means that there's a focus on the rural communities and development of business ideas, business opportunities, small business development. I'm hearing all of that. Am I correct?
Yes, yes. And with the business side, there is the social side, the human aspect of it. And so it's a partnering of the two with the development of the social building capacity of the human quotient, and then you have the MAED part, which is a market access part, that is the business part. So it's a merger of these two things, social on one hand and the business market access part on the other.
Good. One of the things that we found with small businesses, budding, developing businesses, is the whole issue of management, or the absence of management. So some persons have a great business idea, right? They may probably gather some funds, maybe either through one of the lending institutions or maybe through some soft loan agency or so. And it starts and then it just flounders because there's not the proper management. Is MAREP designed to help young persons or young businesses in that management phase, or helping them to in that development phase with the management?
Definitely. At MAREP, we are focused on how should I put it? At MAREP, we are very much focused on the whole individual. We are very much focused on the development of the whole individual, and that means that if you have young persons, which is part of our target group, if we have female-headed households, which is part of our target group, if we have basically the persons who are the most vulnerable within our community, and the idea is to take them from where they are to bring them up to par with the rest of the population. So if that means that we will facilitate the transition with community-based organizations, producer groups, if it means that we have to come in and we have to build capacity, whether it is on the P&L side, whether it is on the management side, the marketing side, we are prepared to do so. And that is where you have a partnership of the community development officer and the business development officers. So when we deal with an individual, when we deal with a community-based group, when we deal with a producer group, when we deal with these people, they meet and interact with a team of the community person that is focused on the social side, the social element, that is going to ensure that it is gender balanced, that is going to ensure that the youths are represented, that the different sexes play an equal role, and that it is focused on the holistic development, not only of the individual, but the community in which the individual is a part of. And so you have that happening, and then the business development officer focuses on the business part. And if it means facilitating the management, facilitating the P&L, facilitating the books, definitely that's going to happen.
Good. Whoa, that is. We got in that answer a whole snapshot of MAREP. But sometimes we found that persons, your target group, the persons who really need the help, are persons who it's difficult to really reach to. Right? By that I mean sometimes people, level of education, so they may have great ideas, but their level of education, their level of acceptance of training, their trainability, right? How has the experience been with respect to delivering the services to the target group?
Well, addressing that challenge, we have to first clearly understand who our target groups and how we went about the process of selecting those persons who fit into the criteria. And that information, to speak in detail about it, would be the responsibility of our M&E specialists. That's a monitoring and evaluation specialist. But on the surface of things, we are responsible for working with the vulnerable groups of persons in 50 communities throughout the length and breadth of Grenada. And the persons that our target groups would be fisher folks, farmers, young unemployed persons, also young persons who are employed but needs to move up the ladder. We are also going to be looking at vocational skills training and the different training across skills training that develops the persons altogether. So the system is designed in such that we find those people. How do we find these people? Based on the poverty assessment report that was done. So the communities that fall within the poorer subset of the population, we are focusing there. The persons that, so working in these communities, and it's not a case of we've just acquired information and we work with the community in a blanket way. We are actually going into the community, interacting with the persons of the community, groups that are formed in the community. If there are not groups, then we are encouraging them to form groups, because the tendency is that something that is a group tends to carry out more so than when it's just individual based. And so we are actually going into the community, interacting with the persons of the community through the community, mapping the assets of the community. And what you have is that the community tells us their needs. And so they point out specifically the persons who are challenged within the community. And I think that's what makes the MARIP system very different, in that it's a hands-on, it's a case-by-case approach, and to ensure that the persons who really need the help gets it. And as a matter of fact, the funding bodies, which is the IFAD International Fund for Agricultural Development, in collaboration with the Caribbean Development Bank and of course Government of Grenada, makes it implicitly clear that these are the people we must work with. And at the end of the project is appraised on the basis of our interaction with these people.
Good. Speaking of appraisals, give me, because as an organization, you must, when you do your evaluation and so, you must look back and say, okay, good, we were successful here, we need to do something more here. This aspect of our project is doing well. Let's speak now to maybe 1, 2 of your success stories.
I can tell you there are a myriad of success stories, but I also have to be frank with the reality that is also present. MARIP is meant to be a 6-year program. 3 of these 6 years has already happened, and we have 3 years remaining. At the initial stage of the program, the past 3 years, the level of work that MARIP would have wanted to accomplish has not been done so. In other words, the business side of it, the market access side, has not happened. And so the focus of the program is driven. We've got $8.5 million that needs to get out there, that needs to be adequately employed in dealing with the needs of these persons and really addressing the challenges of the vulnerable persons within these 50 communities. And so what is happening now is that we are engaging the communities where we left off initially, and I'm practically new to the program as well. So there are success stories that can be shared, but going forward, what we've seen thus far is a level of excitement. It's a level. There's a huge expectation from MARIP and such, and that's what's happening. The success stories would have been persons who, in the past, on the social side, whom MARIP would have taken and institutionalized them within NULO, and these persons are all working today. And I've met one of the young ladies, although it happened when I wasn't there, who testified of the fact that MARIP came to their rescue, so to speak.
You got $8.5 million, 3 years to spend it, right? You need to get more aggressive. To getting money outside, well, not the money outside because the money is available, but to actually match projects, worthwhile projects, to the funding.
Yes, and right? It's very much, and as you said, the project has that amount of funding, and it has to be spent. But of course, there is a criteria it must be spent in, just as the bank might has a portfolio of $1.3 billion, let's say, at the beginning of the year, and they know that they need to get it out there, because if it's in the loans, you're going to be making interest on it. But however, as much as the banks want to get it out there must be a system, a criteria that the loanees must meet to get the relative funding.
Okay, I would have to invite you back to the program.
Definitely.
because that's very interesting, but we are already run out of time.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
and there's something else we need to speak about. With respect to the Caribbean
Yes.
Development Fund.
Yes, yes.
It would be very, very important to have you back on the program. So let's see if we could organize it before long.
And I will look forward to that.
Speak to the producers.
Yes.
And we're happy to have you back.
Thank you very
Speaking
much,
there
sir.
with Rashid Sylvester. He's the CDO, that's the Community Development Officer of MARIP. And we certainly would like to have him back on the program to continue this discussion because there's so much more we need to find out. We take a break now. When we come back, more live action right here on Bunjay.
Bunjay, it's a cultural theme. Experience the goodness of the spice. Friday nights from 8 to 9. Culture at its best. A way of life, of customs and traditions. Bunjay, hear the stories. Listen to the music. Witness the action and the old talk. A real Grenadian cultural experience. Bunjay, a product of the Grenada Cultural Foundation.
There is still a place where untouched beauty meets soothing experiences and a warm people. It is a place where cascading waterfalls meet quiet meandering rivers to join silky stretches of white sand beaches. A place where you are greeted with the friendly smiles of the local people, while the rich aroma from the abundance of tropical fruits, fresh herbs and spices fill your lungs. A place perfect for curious minds. Minds intrigued by 18th century plantations, a water-propelled rum distillery, historical forts, and petroglyphs that are still visible today. A place where you can go turtle watching, feed mana monkeys, and marvel at water-filled craters created from extinct volcanoes. This place also allows you to enjoy perfect year-round sailing conditions while diving the world's first underwater sculpture park. This charming place is neatly situated in the Southern Caribbean and is popularly referred to as the Spice Islands of the Caribbean. These islands are Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. So come visit us as we take you on a journey like never before. Come, experience the rhythms of spice.
Welcome back to Bunjay, and we have switched guests. We now have a beautiful young lady in the studio, and she's a poet. Yes, she writes poetry. Yes, and she reads them too, and she'll be reading for us tonight. But before we go into the reading of the poetry, let's welcome Amy. Amy, welcome.
Thank you
Amy
so
Jones?
much. Yes.
Good. Where's Amy Jones from?
St. Cloud's.
St. Cloud?
Yes.
Wow, that's St. Andrew. Great. Amy, you in your hand, and I would like you to probably just hold it up to the camera so they can see. You see, Beyond the Fables, a book of poetry. That's Amy's first, and she has promised it won't be the last.
No, it won't.
Right? Amy, how have you got involved in poetry? Why poetry?
I don't know, I always had a love for creative writing, and I got the opportunity to write, to express myself, so I took it. In school, I always had the opportunity, and when we did, the literature and everything, I really loved those subjects.
Are the best subjects?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also in college as well, communication studies was my favorite.
You remember your first poem?
Yes, I do.
You have it in the book there?
Yes, I do.
Great. How old were you when you wrote that first poem?
I was in college, probably was around 17.
Yeah. Okay, great. So Amy wrote her first poem at 17.
Actually, no, the first poem from the book.
Oh, from the book?
Yeah.
No, man, I want to find your very
first
putting
first,
it, yeah.
Huh. That's primary school.
Okay.
Yeah, that's primary school.
So you see, the point I want to make here is you can start as early as you possibly can, and it doesn't have to be a good fancy poem neither. It could be just the sun was bright today and this, that, but it's the beginning of it. And it leads on to further writing, of course, and eventually it could be in a book. And one book could lead to a second and a third, and before you know it, maybe some award prize winning. But even if you never got an award, I would think just the ability to pen your own things and express yourself on paper.
It's good.
Yeah. How do you feel when you finish write a poem and say, that came from me? Wow.
Yeah, it feels good. It feels really good.
And sometimes you say, Bonji, what good as boy?
Yes, honestly speaking, honestly, sometimes when I sit back and I look at the stuff that I do, some of them, I feel really good. I'm happy that I have that talent, to let it out in that form.
Really good, very good. We told you were invited to Spice World Festival and I made an appearance there as well. How was that for you?
It was lovely. I love performing. Yeah, so it was great. I enjoyed every bit of it.
Good. What was the response of the people people?
Persons told me that they liked it. They liked the piece that I did. I remember doing Black Woman. And, they liked it. And I was happy that, persons were able to relate to it because it speaks about Black women, coming from slavery and all that. So, it felt good.
But tell us how the piece you're going to do tonight. It's called R.I.P. and Bonjour gets me afraid, Amy. No? So I've just been advised otherwise.
Okay.
So then I would gather then that you have the opportunity to do a piece of your choice.
Okay.
Your choice. Which would that be?
Then I'll do Black Woman.
Good. So Bonjour, me giving us Black Woman.
Yes, I'll do Black Woman. Let me make sure I get Black Woman.
And while you're searching for Black, you got it?
Yeah,
okay,
I have it. Black Woman. Skin tattered, black as jasper. Timid yet assertive, they named you Casper. Naturally bound from head to toe. Strong-willed, determined, you'll always glow. Black Woman. Amazingly structured, hips swaying from side to side. Big-boned, firm breasts, passion, never swaying with life's tide. Black Woman. They abused, they misused, they refused, but you were never once confused. You stand in a crowd and you outshine the rest. You never stammered to the things you wanted to express. Against the things you detest, you protest. The world blames that you are stressed, possessed, depressed, a pest. But to me, you are nothing but the best. You have been blessed. Black Woman. Out to show us that we are no longer slaves, because that part of us died when Massa went down in the grave. But we, fools, caught up in our past and a mind of revenge, want nothing more but our forefathers' death to avenge. She calls to rise up from hurt and shame, our will to blame, our sinful aim, our nigger name. This Black Woman knows that we should never be the same. She calls. Rise up from bondage and slavery, from chemicals and color lighteners. We are nothing but our skin's own jewelry. Yet, we are bound forever in this mental eternity, lost forever from our destined modernity. Black Woman. They say you are damned, nothing good but to be slammed. I refuse to accept this, because that Black Woman is who I am. Skin tattered, black as jasper, timid yet assertive, Ma named me Casper.
Yeah, drum roll right there, heard it, Ponji, but Amy, good. I like the poetic, rhythmic feel of it, right? I particularly like one line. Something with your color. Your color jewelry or your skin's jewelry?
Your skin's own jewelry.
Skin's own jewelry. Beautifully crafted.
Thank you.
Beautifully crafted. You're welcome. And so now that you've given us that first piece, what inspired that piece though?
As a young Black woman, sitting back and looking at a lot of stuff that I see, as the piece speaks about, the bleaching and all that.
Yeah.
I like to appreciate myself, I like to look back at where we came from as Black people and try to stick with that. So I remember I sat back a day and I was saying that, as a young person and notice the trend that we take, we try to be different. We try to straighten the hair. There's nothing wrong with that, but we try to straighten the hair, we try to change the skin tone, we find we too dark, but that's the skin God put us in. And I want us to appreciate ourselves as Black people.
Be proud of who you are, as you are.
As you are.
Okay. So that was the essence of Black Woman, right? Amy's own thoughts and thought processes are spelled out in her interpretation of what black is. And I know it's her interpretation. Other people may have other ideas, other people may have other approaches, but of course we are entitled to each and every one of our own opinion. But I really like the rhythmic style and the use of language, right? How they sometimes even one word merges into the other, poetic endings and so. Right, so you have me salivating. I want another one. I mean, Bonji, Amy, you can't come here and just do one poem.
You want another one?
Yes, please. And then afterwards, you need to tell us where we could get a copy of the book and all of that, because we don't want you to just read it and just leave it here. We want to be able to read it for ourselves. Right?
I have 2 pieces here. You have to choose a title: Eyes and Riddance.
Okay, so you go do eyes first and then riddance afterwards.
All right, so eyes. Those eyes, those taunting eyes, those piercing eyes, those haunted eyes, staring at me, staring into my soul, leaving me feeling somewhat violated and so cold. Stop staring at me. Stop looking at me. Stop undressing me, harassing me, pursuing me with those eyes, those taunting eyes, those piercing eyes, those haunted eyes, molesting me each time I walk by. You can't have me. You can't touch me. Don't approach me. You can't caress me, kiss me, feel me. I refuse to fall for those recycled lines and give you my virginity because you're persistent in pursuing me with those eyes, those taunting eyes, piercing eyes, haunted eyes, abusing me each time I pass by. And I pray for the day that you let me be, let me grow, let me mature, till I'm grown enough to make decisions on when or if my body would ever undergo a man's manipulation. You see, I'm so sick and tired of some of the men of the past, the present, and the upcoming generation who can't even lay eyes on a young woman without total molestation. Some who can't even glimpse without a full-blown erection of their masculine extension, exhausting their respiration, panting like thirsty animals until lusty visions have reached expiration. They are violators in a state of mental retardation, all because of those eyes. And believe me, it's not like we young women want to dictate your observations. Since you claim it's all natural, we don't even need your explanation. I'm just tired of these reoccurring situations. The way you stare, the things you do to us with those eyes, those taunting eyes, those piercing eyes, those haunted eyes, stalking us each time we walk by.
Close your eyes. You know what I mean? Amy, you know, let me tell you this, man. You would never believe this. This afternoon, I saw those eyes. Not looking at me.
You?
No, not looking at me. But I was on Granby Street, and a gentleman was coming down, and he just stopped. He gets a bit inebriated, right? But that's no excuse. He stopped, and he just turned and looked at a young lady. She was in conversation with about 2 or 3 of her peers, and he just fixed his eyes on her. And you know, for a while it was humorous because it just changed us. And then it went from to you know, and for about a minute and a half, and until then but she was good. She just kept the stare and she looked at him. It's like you want to play staring match.
Staring
Let's
in.
go at it. And then he just turned and he walked away, and I was like, and so afterwards, now the joke was on him because he had to at some point break the stare because she wasn't going anywhere. He was the one moving. And then when he turned and walked away, everybody just had laughed. But you know, it was so you were given that those eyes, and I was just transported back to this evening's issue. I say, my Amy would have captured it well. We want to hold up the book again so that to the camera, so that the folks can get another look at it. And you want to tell us at the same time, where can we find a copy?
Well, presently you can contact me for copies. They're not yet in stores, but by next week they will be at Art and Soul and the mall in Granby.
Right, Spiceland Mall.
Yes.
Good. Amy, how much money Amy Jo awkward girl.
It's $25 EC.
25 EC dollars.
It's also available on Amazon. So you can get your hard copy there as well, and you can also get the e-copy for your Kindle and everything.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
What's the name of it?
Beyond Fables Poetry.
Right, so an anthology of poems written by Amy Jones. Right, Amy, I said contact you, but when you leave your studio, where you find your St. Cloud girl? What's your number and things so?
My number is 442-7487. My cell phone number is 533-2284. For
the book purposes only. Right? And don't when you call close, yeah. Amy, I want to thank you so much for joining us on Bonje. It was a pleasure. It was an inspiration.
It's nice to be here.
Yes, thank you. And please continue writing.
I will.
Right, and maintain the poetic style. It's beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Good. Wow, speaking there with Amy Jones, one of our poets, and certainly offering with distinction her reading of her poem, her poetries. And don't leave, we'll be right back. And when we come back, more live action right here on Bonje.
Bonje, it's a cultural theme. Experience the goodness of the spice. Friday nights from 8 to 9. Culture at its best. A way of life, of customs and traditions. Bonje, hear the stories. Listen to the music. Witness the action and the old talk. A real Grenadian cultural experience. Bonje, a product of the Grenadian Cultural Foundation.
Well, welcome. Oh, I'm stammering now. Welcome back to Bonje. And for today's feature video moment, we're featuring Amy Jones, who we just heard read, and she was captured at the Spice World Festival doing a piece, R.I.P. Sit back, enjoy.
My name is Amy Jones. I'm from St. Andrew. I have recently published a book. It's called Beyond Fables. It's a collection of short stories. So I'm going to read shortly a piece of it.
Okay, go ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, Amy.
This piece is called Rest in Peace. She took them off. Her panties, yes, she took them off. She didn't have a chance to think twice when she saw him. Caught like a fish on a hook by the soft touch of his speech, the perfection of his smile, and the glistening of his brown, sparkling eyes. As quick as it happened, it did seem real. She never once questioned her impaired judgment. This love was all she really wanted to feel. She never stopped to consider her fate, that she was a Christian and he wasn't. Before she had a chance to think, it was already too late. She couldn't stop herself from falling. She was entangled by the lust in his eyes and his truthful lies. So after tall glasses of red wine and delicacies as they dined, after walking her to a dorm door and a breathtaking kiss, slow, she brought him in and she took them off. With no hesitation and a chance to think, she completely lost herself as he dived into her matter, pink. And that's all it took, one time. But she couldn't have a baby at 19. So like all scared little girls would, she took his hand to end the life because he said she should. She took them off. Her panties, yes, she took them off. She wasn't allowed to have a chance to think about what was inside her. Gripped by fear and a stigma of a sinful stench that would linger, all he wanted to do was get it over. And as quick as it happened, she felt every pain, every tug, every pull, until no more of it remained. She wasn't allowed a chance to question his decision. That new life had already ended with that first incision. She never stopped the man between her legs to consider her fate, that she was a Christian and they couldn't take lives. But before she had a chance to think, it was already too late. She couldn't stop this man from doing his job. So she just laid there and she sobbed. So after needles and forceps and large syringes too, after realizing yelling and screaming was all she could do, she sought comfort into looking into the eyes of the man who once told her how much he loved her. But he looked away as if in disgust with not one thing to say.
So she closed them again and tried not to think of the professional between her legs, pulling little hands and feet out of her matter. Pink, rest in peace to that beautiful girl that was once me.
Thank you.
There it was, Amy Jones, our featured poet this evening. Rest in peace. We take a break, and when we come back, more live action on Bonjay.
Bonjay, it's a cultural theme. Experience the goodness of the spice. Friday nights from 8 to 9. Culture at its best. A way of life, of customs and traditions. Bonjay, hear the stories. Listen to the music. Witness the action and the old talk. A real Grenadian cultural experience. Bonjay, a product of the Grenada Cultural Foundation.
Welcome back to Bonjay. And we go straight to our iconic feature video for this evening. We take you way back to a young man who burst on the scene in, what year was it, boy? 80s, 90, early 89, 89 there, about 88, 89, right? And just captured Grenada by storm and has been a household name ever since, right? Speaking of none other than Elymus Inspector Gilbert with a selection, Letting Go. Take a look.
Inspector, mash it up. 1. One, two, 1, 2, 3, go! Woo! Woo! Play the music. Ding ding dong dong. Oy oy oy. Ay ay ay. Indian come down for the soca. From some with Hitman Inspector. Long she hearing about me, telling me her life story. Come, I know I come to the right man. So I don't waste no time. I want you to make show them how to let go. She hold me tight in the party. She letting go. I let it go. She letting go. I let it go. I want to get done. I want to wine on with me. I want to show what I do. Who want to jam a jam? She let it go. I let it go. Let me go, I let me go. Bam, 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 bam. Wine shotty. Woo! Yo, yo, yo. Ay, ay, ay. The Indian drink up some whiskey. Everybody eyes on shit. Hey, Senita say let's run away. Woo! But the way she whine her heart to sing. Hey, I telling the woman, save some of the action. I want the way you pay money. Take it up. Woo! I want to hear King Aja talking and squeezing also. Brandy, Skylar and Specky. You know what? She wants this. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the rest of the show. One love. Thank you. I wanted to put your hands together.
Welcome back to Bonjay. Woo, a hit from the past, or a blast from the past. Some people like to put it. Elymus Inspector, Hitman, Roger, Gilbert, all of that. Yeah, all of that. Specky. Yes, hit from the past, and that is where we wrap up our program for today. Whatever was already out, that is where we wrap up our show for today. It was a pleasure being here for yet another exciting 1 hour on Bonjay. We invite you to join us again next week for same time, same place for yet another exciting Bonjay. Until then, be good to yourself. Have a great one, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. Enjoy your day. Peace out.